everyone, this is Ms. Cave with our study guide for Math 7. We have a test on Unit 5, which we learned about slope, y-intercept, proportional relationships, and non-proportional relationships. You should have your study guide in front of you. By completing the notes on this study guide and showing me your corrections tomorrow, you will earn yourself extra points on your test, so you'll go up half of a letter grade. So that means if you have a C+, you'll get a B. If you have a B+, you'll get an A, just for showing me that you cared enough to review for the test. Now this first one we have up here, let me bring up my copy from class. The first one here, we went over in class, so if you missed class today, if you want to go through and look at how we found the rate of change for Richard, working 4 hours and earning 36, 6 hours earning $54, 5 hours and 45. We found the rate of change by dividing the y value, which is 36, by the x value, which is 4. That gave us $9. That's the rate of change. And then finally, we put that into an equation. Y equals 9x. And then we multiplied 9 by 7 to get 63. And then we divided 81 by 9 to get the number of hours it would take for him to earn $81. I know I went through that one really quickly, but we did already go over that one in class. Please note on your sheet some other words for slope or rate of change. We have unit rate, slope, rate of change. That's the number that you're multiplying. So just remember, this is the number that you multiply. It's my multiplier. Okay, so that'll help you remember that when you see that on your test tomorrow. Okay, looking at number 2, we're going to find, it's asking again for that rate of change. So to find the rate of change from a table, I'm going to take my y value and divide by x. This only works if it's proportional, but it is proportional. You can see that we're multiplying by the same number. So for a proportional relationship, I'm going to take y divided by x. So I'm going to take 2.2 divide by 2. So I'm just figuring out what number is being multiplied. 2.2 divided by 2 is 1.1. Okay, I could try it with two other values, 4 and 4.4. So I could take 4.4 and divide by 4. I'd still get that 1.1. So what that means is our rate of change, which we represent with m, is 1.1. So your correct answer for this would be B. So again, when it's a proportional relationship, all you have to do is divide the y value by the x to get the slope, which is also known as our rate of change. Questions on that? All right. IXL? No, do it now. Okay, so if I look at this table here, would this represent, or what equation would represent this proportional? I know that it's proportional, so I know I'm just looking for the number that I'm multiplying. Proportional means I'm multiplying. The equation that I use for multiplying is y equals m times x. M again is my rate of change or my slope. So to get that, I'm going to take my y value and divide it by x. I can put that in my calculator. I could take any of these numbers. I'll choose the easier of them to divide. So I'm going to take 6.3 divide by 3, and I would get m equals 2.1. So my next step is to put it into the equation. Whatever I get for my rate of change be y equals 2.1 times x. So that's my equation right here. What you can also do, if you're not remembering what you do to get m, you can simply take your equations, because it's multiple choice, plug in your x values, and see if you get your y values. So you could actually just use your table and plug them into the equations to see which ones fit. All right, number 4, we're looking for proportional relationships, just like we did in class today when we were sorting our cards. So actually make this a little bigger. So proportional means we're multiplying. Write that on your paper. Proportional means we're multiplying. So I'm looking for a multiplicative relationship. Okay, if I look at these numbers here, 1 times 5, 2 times 3. No, this isn't going to work. Okay, if I even tried it by dividing 5 by 1, I get 5. 6 divided by 2, I get 3. I can see that these numbers are not the same. So if they're not the same, this is not proportional. So I'm going to go to my next table. 1 times 1 is 1, but 2 times 1 is not 5. So again, if I want to try it, 1 divided by 1 is 1. 5 divided by 2, if I use my calculator, is 2.5. Not the same, so this one is not proportional. And the next one, I'm going to take 3. This one's, because some of them you may not be able to do in your head, so you will need the use of a calculator. So I'm going to take 3 divided by 2, and I'm going to get 1.5. 5 divided by 4, I get 0.8. So this again is not proportional. So go ahead and let's take a look at D and see if we can figure out. So with D, we're going to do the same thing. It's maybe not easy to see, but you might see this. I know some people in one class were saying, well, I know 2/3 is equal to 4/6 is equal to 6/9. So these are equivalent fractions. Right? I know that they're equivalent, so that may be one way I can prove it's proportional. But I could also divide y by x to get the constant of proportionality, or the unit rate, or the rate of change, or the slope. And if I divide these numbers, if I divide 3 by 2, I get 1.5. 6 by 4, I get 1.5. 6 by 9, or excuse me, 9 by 6. I also get what? 1.5. So I get the same number, This is my rate of change. And since it's the same, I know it's proportional, so that's the correct answer. So you're going to have tables tomorrow you're going to have to look at and determine which ones are proportional, and you can use your calculator if you're not sure of the multiplication. This is how you check it. Any questions? All right. So now we're on to graphing with slope. I know it's been a little while since we did this last week, and some of you are forgetting. This is a point. This is a coordinate. It is not slope. It's telling you that the line passes through this point. So if a line passes through 5, 3, I'm going to graph that point because I know that the point is going to go through 5, 3. So see how I just graphed my point? 5, 3, not 3, 5. This is not your slope. This is not your rise over run. This is just a point that's on this graph. Let's not confuse that with slope. Our slope is given as 3/5. So if slope is 3 over 5, that means it's rise 3 over 5 run. So I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go over 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It says plot at least 3 points, so I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go up 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go over 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have my 3 points, so then I'm going to connect them with a straight line, and you can see that this is proportional because it passes through the origin. All right? So again, plot your point if you have something like this. On the test, you'll be given this, and then you have to choose the graph. So I should see you guys like looking at the graphs, trying to figure out which ones match. You're going to be looking for something that goes through this point and has a slope of 3/5. And we could verify that. See, this is 3 over 5, and then my point, 5, 3, is right here. Because you're not actually going to be plotting the points on the test. You're going to be matching the graph to the directions that are given. Okay, number 2, I had a lot of people with questions on this one. You're getting the points that lie on the graph. So you're not given a graph here. You could graph this, right? It's proportional, starts at 0, 0, rise over run is 1/2. Or you could just plug in these values. So starting with 0, 0, okay, if y equals 1/2 x, if y is 0 and x is 0, I could plug it into the equation 0 equals 0. So does 0, 0 work? Yeah, I just plugged it into the equation. For the second one, I'm going to use my equation again. 1/2 x. What's y there? What's my y value? 2. So I want to see if 2 is equal to 1/2 of 1. Okay, is 2, what's 1/2 of 1? 1/2. Is 2 equal to 1/2? No, it's not. So this one is not one of my choices. Okay, I do it with 3 and 6. Y equals 1/2 times x. So if y is 6 1/2 of 3? No. 1/2 of 3 would be 1.5. So that one doesn't work. You see what I'm doing? After this point, you can keep plugging them in, or watch. I can just think about this and use some common sense. Y, which is 2, is 2 half of 4? Yes, 2 is half of 4, so this one works. Okay? Is 5, see the y value? Half of 10. What's half of 10? 5, so this one works. Okay, now the last one, 4 and 8. What do you guys think? Yes or no? Okay, if I put in 4 for x, is 8 half of 4? No, 4 is half of 8, so this one doesn't work. So if you have something like this, you're just going to plug in the numbers. Number 3, which of the following equations represents the same proportional relationship? Okay, so for this one, we know that y equals mx. M is your slope. So I'm looking for the slope that I can plug into the number before. So I'm looking to see if it's 4/3, 3/4, 3, or 4. So I'm going to find 2 points on the line. This point and this point. See how it crosses through the side of the square? And so I'm going to go rise over run. Rise over run to get my slope. So I'm going to go up. How many did I go up? 3. And then how many did I go over? 4. So what is my slope? 3 over 4. So if I plug that into my equation, it's going to be y equals 3/4 x. So the answer is B. So for these, you have to actually find the slope by looking at you'll have the computer screen in front of you. I expect you guys to be looking at it. And when you take the SOL, you can't put anything up to a screen, unfortunately. But when you're in here, I don't care. You guys can look up and check your work that way. All right, let's look at number 4. Another graphing. Obviously, you're not actually graphing them on the test. You're going to be picking graphs that match. So what do I know about the slope of this line? What's the slope? So slope is 2/3. So that means it's 2 on the rise, 3 on the run. So, and it's proportional, but all of these are proportional. So I'm going to calculate the slope for each one. This point and this point, I go up 2, I go over 1. Is that 2/3? No. B, down here, I'm going to look at this point and this point. How much do I go up? 3. How much do I go over? 1. What's the slope? Okay, so this, let's label that. This, the slope is 2. This, the slope is 3. So far, have I found my answer? No. Let me zoom out here. All right, so let's take a look at this one. I have my point here, my point here. It's rise over run. So I'm going up how many? 3. And I'm going over how many? 2. What's my slope? 3 over 2. Is that my answer? No, but some people might pick this on accident, mixing up the numbers. That's the number one problem on that quick check we did on slope. You guys are reversing. It's always rise over run. So D must be the answer, but let's verify. Pick these 2 points. I'm going to go up how many? 2, and I'm going to go over how many? 3. So my slope is 2 over 3. So that means y equals 2/3 x. That's my equation of that line. So the correct answer is D, because it matches that. All right. Now we're on to 710C. We just have to get through E. All right. So this one we have additive relationships. So you guys should see that switch here. We're now going to additive. It says that Mary has 3 ceramic cats. She plans to buy some more. So we're writing the equation in this form. So if you see this form, that's additive. So you're looking for the additive relationship between x and y. Okay? So it's not multiplying anymore. So what do I do to -2 to get -6? What do I do to -1 to get -5? What do I do to 1 to get -3? You're subtracting 4. So the y-intercept, when you subtract 4, would be -4. Don't forget your negatives. I think the one on the test where it's asking for the y-intercept, it is a negative. So make sure the number that you're subtracting, that's your y-intercept. Make sure you pick that out. Okay? So the next problem, the table below shows the relationship between x and y. Verbal description, we'll talk about that in a second. The y-intercept, okay? The y-intercept is the value of y when x is 0. It's where the line crosses through. So this would be 6. If you forget that, look at what's happening from x to y. From 0 to 6, 4 to 10, 12 to 8. What are we doing? We're adding 6. The number that we're adding is the y-intercept. So 2 different ways of figuring it out. One, the value of y when x is 0, and also by looking at the additive relationship. So our equation would be y equals x. Our y-intercept is b. So y equals x plus what? 6. It's the function rule from the table. Y equals x plus 6. Why what? Because it's just telling you that it's additive, that b can't be 0. Because it's not proportional, it's additive. So they're giving you the information letting you know that b can't be 0, it's proportional. If b was 0, it'd be proportional. Okay. So now we're just looking for equations. So we're looking at what we do to x to get y. So 1 to 8, okay? So if we didn't know whether it was proportional or not, you should be able to see pretty quickly that it's not. 1 to 8 is times 8. 4 times 8 is not 11. So if it's not proportional, it must be what? It's additive. So then we just think, what number am I adding? I'm adding 7. So my equation would be y equals x plus 7. See how somebody might get 8x? If they confused, they looked at the first one and they didn't look at the rest of the table, they might get y equals 8x. And then these you don't even have to do yet. That's more 8th grade math where you have 2 different things happening. Number 5, another table, we're looking for the relationship. Okay, so again, -3, -4. Got to think about what's happening, but I'm going to look first at positive numbers if I have them. 2 and 1 might be divided by 2, but is 5 divided by 2 4? No, so that means it must be what? Additive. What am I adding to 5 to get 4? You're subtracting 1, so you're adding a -1. You're subtracting 1. So down here you'll see the equation that we have that matches is y equals x minus 1. 2 minus 1, 5 minus 4. You can subtract these numbers to get the number that you're adding. The verbal description over here. If we go back to number 3, a verbal description, this just means somebody starting with 6. So I had $6. Then it's going up by 1. The slope is 1. Earned $1 per day. It's not a very good job. I need to look around. So this would be because you're starting. I know the slope is 1, by the way, because of the change in y, which is 8, change in x, which is 8. So the slope is going to be 8 over 8, which is 1. That's how I know it's 1. Remember, with additive, your slope's always 1 for now, for this unit. All right. We're almost there. A few more. 710D. Okay, y-intercept, we know the y-intercept means it hits the graph at 0, -4. So that's what y-intercept means. It means it crosses the graph at -4 on the y. So you're crossing it right here, y-intercept. So I'm going to draw a point at 0, -4. And I'm also, it tells me that it crosses through 3, -1. So then I'm going to make a point at 3, -1. For this one, it's only asking for 2 points, so I'm going to be done after 2 points. And then I'll just take, you can see that the slope is 1. I'll just take a line and put it through. So again, your y-intercept, that means you plot it at 0, -4, and it goes through this point, 3, -1, and you just draw your line. Whereas slope, you start at 0, 0, or the point that's given, and you do rise over run. Okay, for this one, I'm going to identify the y-intercept. Remember, the y-intercept is the number that's added or subtracted because y equals x plus b. B is the y-intercept. So it's 0, -3. So you're going to plot your point at 0, -3. You're going to plot your y-intercept right here. And then what's my slope? Do you see what it is? What's in front of that x? Nothing, so that means it's 1. So my slope is 1 over 1. So I'm going to rise and run 1. Up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. And then I'm going to create my line. Okay, so when you're given y-intercept, you plot that point. If you're given an equation that's additive, that doesn't have anything in front of the x, your slope is going to be 1. All right. So now we're looking for see which equation is shown in the graph. Okay, let me show you a really easy way to see it. I can eliminate this one and this one. Why? What kind of relationships are C and D? They're multiplicative or they're proportional. So these are proportional. So this is not proportional. Proportional crosses through the origin. Or 0, 0. These do not. You can see that the graph doesn't. So it's either going to be x minus 6 or x plus 6. Which one is it? It's plus 6 because look, 6, your y-intercept, is 0, 6. Look right there. That's where the graph hits the y. What's your y-intercept for this one? Yeah, this is -6 for your y-intercept. So it's got to be this. See how easy that was? You just look. If this isn't proportional, you look for your y-intercept and you look for the equation that matches it. All right, next one. Which of the following represents y equals x minus 2? Same thing. I'm going to look. It can't be this one. That's proportional. This one, maybe. This one, maybe. Could it be D? No, because it's proportional. So now I'm looking for y-intercept of -2, and what does the slope have to be? Slope is going to be what? 1 over 1. So is this 1 over 1? Yes. This one is -1. See how this one's negative? It's going down. So the correct answer is B. All right, we're at the end, but okay. Steve went to play video games in Games Glory Arcade. They charged $150 for each game played. So is this proportional or not proportional? $150 per game. That's it. So what am I multiplying by x? 150. So this is proportional because you multiply $1.50 per game. So if he played one game, it's $1.50. If he played 2 games, it's $3. So this is proportional. The next one, Sam went to play video games. They charged $10 to get into the arcade and then another $1. Is this starting at 0? No, he starts at 10 because he has to pay 10 before he even plays any games. So this would be an example of an additive relationship, and the reason why is it starts with 10. Starts with $10. This started with, he just goes in and pays $1.50 per game, whereas this one starts with 10. So now we have a graph in ordered pairs. So this is really easy, girls. All you got to do is look and match up the points from the table. That's the easiest way to do it. So I'm going to look at this point, -3, -5, -3, -5. It's not there. You see that? So I can eliminate this table. 2, -2, 2, -2. Is it there? No. I'm going to eliminate the table. -2, -4. -2, -4. Is it there? No. -4, -2. -4, -2. It's there. -2, 0. -2, 0. 1, 3. 1, 3. So if you have one with a table and a graph, probably how you were doing this in the matching in class today, you can just look at the points on the graph and match them to the table. All right, last 2 problems. Which graph corresponds to the table? Again,